Steven! Did you hear me call Steve Young the other day, Steven?
No.
Oh, yeah, that
You
was
called him
embarrassing yesterday.
Steven?
Yeah. I was asking him a question. I go, yeah, so what do you think about Brock and, him potentially getting a new contract and the perception that maybe he doesn't deserve one, Steven? Steve?
Oh, no.
Thank God Steve Young didn't say anything. But, of course, Copes and Tim are like, whoa, you called him Steven? What do you think this is? Just your opinion, man? Oh.
I mean, you have every right to be made fun of for that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Steven's close enough.
Still, that's bad.
It's not that bad.
He probably hasn't been called Steven since, I don't know, like his mom got
Yeah, I know. His mom.
in trouble for watching like
Steven, I want to watch you play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
What's his middle name? What's Steve's middle name? You should go one further next time.
I know. Called him Steven.
No, you should call. Did you know this?
Government name.
Did you know his government name?
His middle name?
No, like his government name.
Oh, his first name? Like, no, what is it?
Apparently Steve is not his first name.
Oh.
His government name is John Stephen Young.
Oh, well, that makes sense. The Mormon John Stephen.
Right.
John Young. Yeah. Brigham Young. Yeah, he's one of the original.
How about that? So next time, that's the dare.
So John
Stephen.
No, if I called him John, he'd go, whoa, hang on, D-Money. No one calls me John. No one calls me no one calls me John.
It's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and you're calling him by his real name.
I know. Well, he calls me D-Money, so I'm afraid I can mess up his name every once in a while.
Yeah, that'd be like I don't know, if you ever get like Debo Samuel on, you could call him. Was it Tyshawn?
Tyshawn. I don't think we're getting Debo Samuel on because I don't think he's going to be here.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. We could get into that tonight, but just your opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. Before we get into talking sports, I wanted to bring this up, and I know you probably been paying attention too, Stephen.
Oh yeah.
What's going on in LA right now is just awful. I have family there. I got my sisters living there. I lived there. I got my friends living there. I lived in the West Hollywood area for, God, what was it, 2 years? And it was beautiful. And I used to walk around, used to go on hikes to listen to sports talk radio or music in Runyon Canyon. And it was beautiful. It was scenic. And to see what's happened over there is just awful. So, they're moving the Rams Vikings game to Arizona, and that's probably the right move. So, yeah, we're thinking about all the people in LA right now, and hopefully they get those fires contained. That's awful.
Oh, they're just getting worse, too.
Yeah.
Last night, like, the winds, just insane. There's the video captured just outside of the McDonald's where it's, like, focusing on the McDonald's.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
You get a pretty solid perspective of what the wind is like. It's just scary, man. And, yeah, I was watching, obviously we're talking about it all day on KCBS. And the station and everyone there has done a really fantastic job covering it and getting all the information out to Northern California, even though it is happening in Southern California. And, I know a couple of firefighters who actually they aren't going down there, but they've sent a couple of engines down there, and they just said it's even for them, it's crazy. So
yeah,
it sucks to see all of that. And obviously with how many people in professional sports are from Los Angeles or have roots in Los Angeles, like it really is a hub for professional athletes. Like you go down the list of, I don't know, college football recruits, you see so many from like Mission Viejo, people who go to like modern day high school and all those different things. So yeah, man, there's not really much more we can add that hasn't already been said. It's just when you hear people have to evacuate, and then the Steve Kerr stuff was heartbreaking. That was tough to report on today.
Yeah, I mean his childhood home. I mean, shoot, like should actually check Tom. Like he grew up in Long Beach. I don't know if it's going over there, but I mean, yeah, like Steve and him grew up in LA together, and he was talking about his childhood home going up in flames. JJ Redick lost his home, I guess. Homes can be replaced, but it's always tough when that stuff happens. So
yeah, but at the same time too, it's like homes can be replaced, but like I was watching a lot of the local LA news. I was like keeping an eye on YouTube Live and watching just how they were covering it. And it's you never really think, but it really, some of those homes that have now gone up in flames, like they lasted for generations.
Yeah.
So it like more than just homes, and that really can't be replaced. It means more than that. It's something that's like,
It's memories.
yes, it's memories. It's built inside these people, and now it's all gone, and they got to figure out something new, and they have to wait it out. Because as far as I know, it was getting better today because the wind died down, but I think it got a little bit worse tonight.
Yeah. It's
It's
always
all
terrible. So yeah, we're in the Northern California. We're thinking of people in Southern California, and yeah, I mean, you know, I think you and I, like, we both can have ties to LA. So yeah, you never want to see that. So
oh,
that's awful.
no,
Yeah.
and just seeing the videos of people actually like setting fire to things just because it's like seeing. Did you see any of that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, like arsonists out there, like lighting dumpsters on fire and
Just to add to the what's
just
already going on.
just to add to the destruction and making things worse.
Don't you love people?
Just complete jackasses.
Yeah. Whatever.
Mm.
And yeah, we're obviously sensitive because, in Napa and Sonoma, there's like areas that have obviously been devastated by fires. So
Right.
yeah, thinking about all the people in LA, and hopefully that gets resolved quickly. And there's no good transition, so we'll just do it. We'll go into football and talk about the Raiders. Me and Alon discussed it 2 nights ago with the firing of Antonio Pierce. You gave your 2 cents about it. I think we both agree. We all agree that it was the right move. And yeah, just because he said I plan on being here didn't mean anything. So he's gone after Mark Davis and Tom Brady spoke. Antonio Pierce is out, and I was under the assumption that it was going to be Mark Davis, Tom Brady, and Tom Telesco leading the charge to see who the next head coach is going to be. And come to find out, Tom Telesco will be not moving on with the Raiders as well. He was fired today. So my reaction to this initially was, what? Why? Like it kind of reminds me of a little bit of Dave Ziegler getting fired with Josh McDaniels. Is it the right move to fire your GM and head coach at the same time? Probably, but is it fair? No. He did everything he could. Like, he didn't know that Michael Penix was going to get drafted before them, so they took the best possible player, and it panned out. Brock Bowers has been a fantastic tight end, and Jackson Powers Johnson. And what he's an established GM. He was, I don't know how many years, 10 years he was with the Chargers. So for him to be out just like that, that's a little rough. But I also kind of get it, because the mindset you want to have is your head coach and GM are lockstep and together on decisions.
Right.
And it would have been another awkward situation, like you and I were talking about last year when they hired Antonio Pierce and they hired Tom Telesco, and neither men knew each other. So it was an awkward situation. We saw it this year when, the Raiders won a game and Antonio Pierce said, talk to Tom Telesco about us not getting the first overall pick. So this is probably the right thing to do, but I don't think it's the fair thing to do. And I'll go into more detail of what I think happens next. But yeah, your reaction to Tom Telesco being fired.
It might not be fair, but we also don't know what these head coaches want. And some of the ones that interviewed probably wanted to choose their own GM. But I don't know if I should bring this up now or at the end. I don't know whether this should be icing on top of our Raiders conversation cake, Derek, or I should just bring this up because maybe this would just completely make the rest of whatever we talk about a moot point. AJ, I think, has it spot on, and I don't know why he's telling us to just admit this, because we have been admitting it the entire time.
Yeah, we're not afraid to say this.
Just admit that the problem with the Raiders is Mark Davis. He has no clue how to run a team, and the Raiders will never achieve respectability or their potential until ownership changes. I think
Mark Davis doesn't spell his name like Mark Spears, right?
No, he does not. He spells it with a K.
Okay.
That's fine. That's fine, AJ.
Hey, not calling your grammar, but or spelling by any means. I shouldn't do that. I was just curious.
No, we're just going to spell Cruz with a K from now on. Everything that's gone on with the Raiders, like before we even talk about like who we think should be their next head coach and why they moved on from Tom Telesco and what's next. I think this is very representative of what the Raiders are as an organization. They're dysfunctional, disorganized. Mark Davis, I think, like after Reggie McKenzie, Jack Del Rio announcing his own firing, then moving on to Gruden, and obviously having the Gruden Mayock pairing just because of what Mayock did on TV and also what Gruden did on TV, plus with his history with the Raiders. I don't know what that would have looked like now, but as far as John Gruden being the head coach, but with Mike Mayock, it wasn't working. So clearly that relationship didn't work. Then you move on to Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler, which, as far as I'm concerned, we were on board. I'm like, at least they have a plan. Right? We were on board with it. But then it turns out Josh McDaniels does not know how to communicate with players at all. Nope. And Dave Ziegler, well, I think Dave Ziegler kind of got the short end of the stick there. Like
it's the same thing. Really it's the same thing, honestly.
Exactly. He didn't really get a chance. So I think the point is Mark Davis is just trying so hard to just push all the right buttons. It's like when a supervillain in like an animated cartoon tries all these different things to defeat the superhero, like the Joker defeating Batman, but it just never works. Batman's always coming out on top, except in this scenario, there is no superhero that he's fighting. Mark Davis just keeps on making mistake after mistake on his own. What he's fighting is success in the NFL, I guess.
Yeah, Mark Davis is like Mandark at Dexter's Laboratory.
Exactly. It just nothing goes right ever. And now even the Tom Brady thing. How about mishandling this Tom Brady situation? Why is he now clearly involved in these talks? Why did he let him go with this Fox job? Either why did he let him go with this Fox job, or why did he let him get a minority stake in the team? It's like, dude, choose one or the other. Like, you can get a minority stake here, but like it just shows complete organizational, not dysfunction. Dysfunction is not the right word. Just organizational failure,
ineptitude. Like it is. Like Mark, I'm happy that he doesn't meddle, but like when it comes to decision making, I question everything. And yes, Steven, you and I were both in agreement that we both liked the Josh McDaniels move. I was all for it, but I didn't know how. I mean, he just rules with an iron fist and really didn't know how to communicate to his players. It was bad. And then we should have known this year, like we were talking about the other night when we were doing the show, and the Raider fans were like, oh, the Raiders played hard for Antonio Pierce. Yeah, but then why do they have a team meeting and talk about how ill-prepared they are? By the way, did you hear these stories about Gerard Mayo and how he reacted to wins and losses?
Yeah.
And then going on like the team charter and like gambling with the guys instead of watching tape. It's like, well, you got to learn how to be a head coach, man.
Right.
Yeah, it's all just it's the state of affairs with the Raiders, how Mark Davis handles things. He's just not a good owner.
Yeah.
But hopefully he puts people in the right position to lead the football team, and that leads us to Tom Brady.
Well, hang on really quick. I didn't really get a chance to say this because I didn't really hear much reaction to the Antonio Pierce firing, and I hadn't really talked on the podcast. But I'm not buying into this whole like Antonio Pierce didn't have talent to work with. As far as I'm concerned, he actually did. If you look back on the roster, sure, they went through a few injuries, but go back and look at the projected opening day lineups, and you'll find ESPN had the Raiders ranked 26th. 26th. Now, next to them and behind them was the Panthers, the Cardinals. I think the Vikings were a couple of spots up. The Patriots were there, and the New York Giants. The New York Giants are a complete mess. The New England Patriots, they found their quarterback, but they fired their head coach because he wasn't the right guy. Whereas other teams, it seems they found the right head coach. It seems they found the right quarterback. They just need to build their team from the ground up. So I didn't understand the talking heads who were defending Antonio Pierce by using solely the roster. Like, everyone just crapped on Gardner Minshew, fine, but he looked okay under Shane Steichen. And the fact that you didn't get anything out of him, like a single thing and made him look like one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, potentially the worst to get a start, and not even go with Aiden O'Connell or give him a shot. I'm not saying they would have won like 7 or 8 games like I predicted. I'm not saying they would have done that. But I'm at least thinking if Antonio Pierce was a good coach, you would have that feeling in your gut. You would know, all right, this team might be moving in the right direction here. And it just didn't work. And then Telesco, for all the great draft picks that he had, at the end of the day, he didn't address the most important position you can argue in all of sports, and that is the quarterback.
No doubt he didn't, but I thought he may have been under the impression that he would be given more time to do that.
Sure. Yeah, no doubt.
So that's rough. I think at the end of the day, they did this because it's fair to the coach and the GM or whatever. Like if they pick the coach and then he picks the GM, like it's best to have, unison, to be unified on where your football team is going next. So it's clear to me that Tom Brady is the one that's kind of leading the ship here.
Yeah.
And I'm not thinking that Tom Brady by any means would be in favor of keeping Antonio Pierce. I don't think Mark Davis was in favor of keeping Antonio Pierce. I think as soon as Tom Brady signed on to be a minority owner, that was going to be the end of Antonio Pierce, because I can't think of, like, is that a guy like Tom Brady's like, yeah, that's a confident, like, that I'm confident in that guy being our head coach. I'm confident in that guy winning a Super Bowl for us. And I know people are kind of scoffing at the story of Tom Brady calling Bill Belichick. Well, of course you have to. I mean, I would expect him to do that. Why wouldn't he do that? What's the whole point of getting Tom if you're not going to make phone calls? That's a good thing to do. Now, Bill is saying, I'm good at UNC. I need to see this through for at least one season. The buyout for Belichick, though, is $10 million. So while he may not come this season, I would not be the least bit surprised if Belichick just starts the football factory, the NFL factory at UNC, and then sets his son up for success, and then wants to go back to the NFL. But it has to be under the right circumstances. It has to be at a place that's willing to give him full control. And now that could be the Raiders. So I don't know if that's completely done with Bill Belichick there. However, if Brady's the one telling you Antonio Pierce isn't good enough and Tom Telesco, I don't know if he's saying he's not good enough, but maybe he's just not the right guy, or it makes sense if we have a pairing of a head coach and GM together, then he's going to be extremely involved. So I was arguing about today with Copes on the show, and he seems to think that it's not that big of a deal that Brady is involved with Fox and doing this at the same time. I completely disagree. I think he needs to decide to do one or the other. Because it's one thing to not, if you're a minority owner and you're not the one leading the interviews, you're not the one picking the coach, you're not the one picking the quarterback, and you do stuff for Fox. Regardless, it takes away from his job. Like, he's dealing with this stuff this week where he's telling Mark Davis, fire Antonio Pierce, fire Tom Telesco. He's got a fucking playoff game to call on Sunday. He's got the Green Bay Packers and Eagles. You think Tom Brady wants to open the broadcast off by saying, so I don't remember which teams the Green Bay Packers have lost to this season. I don't remember which teams the Eagles have lost to this season. And like all the preparation of Jalen Hurts, he's coming off concussion protocol. Jordan Love, he's dealing with like a thumb or like a hand injury and nerve damage. Like, he's got to be prepped on that. And I understand why owners are kind of like, what's this guy doing? You think he can be that involved in a team and then call games for us? What if he ever calls a Raider game? You got to be impartial. You, as a broadcaster, it's basically like when you're on TV, it's a national gig. So to act like you have favoritism towards a team, that will not be looked at very well. So I think Tom needs to decide what he needs, what he wants to do. Do you want to run this team, or do you want to be a commentator for Fox? And the more and more I think about it, I'm not saying this is going to happen, because I think at the end of the day, Mike Vrabel goes to the Patriots because of his connection with Robert Kraft. But is he trying to tell Mike, look, I will run football operations. You be the head coach. You can trust me. I'll be here every day.
Yeah.
You don't have to deal with Mark. You'll deal with me. If you go to the Patriots, you're dealing with Elliott Wolf, a guy you don't know. You know Robert Kraft, but it's a whole situation again, like with Ron Carthon, where he may do things that you don't want to do. So if I'm here, I'm working for you. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised with that. I wouldn't be surprised if Tom Brady goes the Buster Posey route, where he's like, I'd rather run a team than go to a new city each week and not win or lose. He still is very competitive.
He's also not a good broadcaster.
Yeah.
Look, man, you either have it
But
or
he
you
doesn't
don't.
care about that.
You either have it or you don't. Like I'm sorry, but there are quite a few out there who don't have it, and they're just keeping them on there because they can't find anybody else. We know Greg Olson has it. We know at one point Tony Romo had it, but he kind of lost his fastball after a while. But he still has like this pizzazz, this enthusiasm for the game. Chris Collinsworth obviously had it, but now he's
a guy.
now he's just kind of I can't even explain with Chris Collinsworth anymore.
He's still got it, Steven.
He's fallen off a little bit. He's trying to. There's times when there's a clear play that he's trying to make it sound like it's the greatest play ever, and it's like, dude, that wasn't a great play. I don't know what you're talking about.
He's better than most, I'd say.
But he is, and that's why he's still doing Sunday Night Football.
Yes.
But Tom Brady does not have it. And if you're going to have him on the top team, you don't have time to let guys get better at this or work on their craft. No, we said this when Brady got the broadcasting job, Derek. Go to Ron Swanson of Parks and Recreation. Don't half-ass two things. Whole-ass one thing. You'll be much better off. He needs to whole-ass the Raiders ownership. That's what he needs to do. He needs to take over. Because I think also Brady knows in his heart of hearts that Mark Davis doesn't know what he's doing.
Oh, yeah. I think Mark Davis knows that. That's why he's leaving it all up to Brady.
Yes, he does. And he needs to be the guy. He needs to. And Mike Vrabel, I know we're going to have a little Raiders roundtable soon with Spadoni, but Spadoni sent me this earlier today. Have you seen who Vrabel wants as his offensive coordinator? Jeremy Fowler? Yeah. If you want that, I'm out.
Well, that ain't happening at the Raiders.
No, it is not. And I am convinced that Josh McDaniels was only a good offensive coordinator because he had the greatest quarterback of all time with him.
We'll see. I mean, he knows Josh, so, and it doesn't sound like Josh is going to North Carolina with Bill, so I wouldn't hate that somewhere else. But I mean, that's just if they're doing that in New England, like that's, let's just get the whole band back together again.
Good luck. That's what I say. Good luck.
Right.
But I think this is a much more enticing option. Like for example, I sent you earlier, Adam Schefter had the schedule for Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
It really is fascinating with those interviews. Because he's got the Jags, the Bears, and what's the other one? I can't even remember the other one. Chicago. No, I said the Bears. Jags, Bears, and New England. He has New England.
Yeah.
It's like 3 of the 4 teams seem to have their quarterback, whether it's a future of the franchise or I guess the jury's still out on Trevor Lawrence, but they paid the guy, so they're going to make him the number 1 dude.
Yeah.
It's 3 out of the 4 teams. They all have starting quarterbacks. The one that doesn't, well, they got Tom Brady, Richard Seymour, and then Mark Davis saying, do whatever you want. Oh, yeah, we'll give you the GM, whoever you want. Choose your GM. And you're going to choose the coaching staff. Which one would you rather go to? You got Shad Khan and his mustache, who is willing to call out Trent Baalke when he's right next to him in a phone call.
Oh, jeez.
You got to Google it. You got Robert Kraft, who, God love him, he's getting pretty old. Love him, but not really. But, you have that guy.
You don't need to massage that one, Steven. Let's move on.
And then you have Chicago. And Chicago, it looks like a dumpster fire right now. Sure, you got Caleb Williams, but look at what happened. Look at what's happening with Ryan Poles. You got fans chanting "sell the team" at Soldier Field. Like I think that if I had to guess, I'm looking at 3 of those 4 teams. The Raiders would be the more enticing option. And I'm kind of getting on this Ben Johnson hype train because I heard Amon-Ra St. Brown talk about him leading into the playoffs. How well he's able to communicate his offense. His players know exactly what he wants, and he's a large part of the strong Detroit Lions culture. So I'm kind of in on that. And also, there was two-pronged reasons, or two-pronged as to what Ben Johnson's looking for as a head coach. And they're not one of them is not quarterback. One of them is not quarterback. So
Wait, say it again?
One of those reasons, or one of those things that Ben Johnson's looking for, I was trying to be smart. Two-pronged answer. But one of those prongs, it's not a quarterback.
Then what is he looking for then?
It's like building a good relationship with ownership and having good relationships within the building, and eventually selecting his own coaching staff and building it from there. He wants to treat it like Dan Campbell with the Lions did.
Yeah.
And it might not be pretty this first season, but he wants to start from the ground up, truly. And that was my one criticism. I'm like, can he really do that? Well, it seems he wants to do that. And if he wants to take on the challenge, so be it. Bring it on. I'm all in.
If it's not Mike Vrabel, the next best option is Ben Johnson. Mm-hmm. And I hear you on, we don't want Josh McDaniels back as offensive play caller. I don't think they can make that work with the Raiders again. I don't think you bring back Josh McDaniels as the offensive play caller just a year and a half after he was let go. I think that would look bad. There's other offensive coordinators that Mike Vrabel could find. But if it is Ben Johnson, I think they're probably I think Brady maybe established a connection with Ben Johnson from calling Lions games this year and is telling him, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get you. So this is your shot. Who do you want to be GM? Who do you want the quarterback to be? We'll do whatever you want. And this is all that Ben Johnson's been asking for. Because all we've heard is Ben Johnson wants a good situation with good ownership. And that's why I guess he was not into going with Josh Harris with the Commanders, because he was answering to basketball people, Josh Harris and Bob Myers, or go to Carolina with David Tepper, who is ridiculous. So, yeah, maybe this is enticing to him just because he can run an NFL franchise. But also, I have to say, for Ben Johnson, is it going to be harder to find the quarterback at number 5? Like, can you find the best quarterback in this draft? Are you willing to – is it better to go to New England with Drake May, or Chicago with Caleb Williams, or Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence because you know what you're getting with the quarterback? With the Raiders, you have no idea what you're getting. So that's my only thing, is maybe the Raiders are giving him the most power, but at least you know what the quarterback situation is going to be. And I think as far as ownership, yeah, the Bears one, that could be dicey. With the Patriots, Robert Kraft is getting up there, but his son will probably take over. And then with Jacksonville, Shad Khan is kind of like Mark Davis. He was like, by all means, sir, do what you want. So, yeah, I think Ben Johnson would be awesome, but I don't think that's realistic, to be completely honest. That could be. I could be totally wrong here. I just saw the notification. I don't know if this was said before. Pete Carroll is going to interview for the Raider job, and that's the guy that Alon wanted. And I like Pete. I don't think it's the right time for Pete Carroll to be the Raiders head coach, because how long is this going to take? How long is it going to take to do this rebuild with 74-year-old Pete Carroll?
Didn't he not want Mike Vrabel? Because why didn't he want Mike Vrabel again? I listened to the podcast.
Yeah, he didn't want Mike Vrabel because he doesn't think that it would be a quick turnaround. It would basically kind of be the same deal with Antonio Pierce. Not that they're the same coach, but he doesn't believe that he's the type of guy that could just turn a team around like that. And my reaction to that is, I hear you. There probably would be. I don't know if they make the playoffs instantly, but I think that there's an established culture there with Mike Vrabel.
It's really pick your poison. Like I'm not gonna say no to a lot of head coaches. I think Liam Cohen's out of the question. I think I saw something from, I think it was Hondo or Vic Tafer or one of those Raiders.
Was Hondo writing some bullet points today?
No bullet points from Hondo, but Liam Cohen. They have not had much interest in Liam Cohen, is what I've seen. I don't know about that. I'd be skeptical of him because I think the Buccaneers just got some damn good players on their team.
Yeah.
Like, they got really good players. And I know Ben Johnson does, but he's turned Jared Goff into an MVP and knows exactly what he's doing with Amon-Ra St. Brown, and has also made everyone look foolish with their take on Jahmyr Gibbs being too much of a reach in the first round. So it's hard for me to like argue against anyone with their points, because it's like kind of like the MVP. Like when we were having that conversation with Lamar and Allen, when it didn't feel like Lamar had really ran away with it, it really felt like it was between the two. I'm like, you can take away or add players and use them as examples as to why, but at the end of the day, like they're probably all good options. But it feels like Mike Vrabel and Pete Carroll would kind of get you the same result. You know, you'd get very much different cultures in there.
Yeah, you would.
But it would be, I think, with whoever you're bringing in, whoever they're bringing in, it's going to be a pretty slow process. I'm not expecting, even though I've been saying it all season, I'm not expecting a Washington Commanders type of turnaround if they somehow find their quarterback. Like, I'm expecting this to maybe, like, honestly, this is how bad the team's gotten, and this is where Mark Davis has gotten them with all his decisions. I'd almost be okay with an 8-win season next year as long as I'm feeling good about where they're at.
Yeah, of course. No, that'd be progress as opposed to a four-win season.
But it's just like I hate saying that because we shouldn't be in the progress stage at this point. They've rebuilt and
I know
just collapsed. Pigs 76. Salah's my preference. I'm not mad at Salah being the guy.
Yeah, I like Rob Saleh, or Robert Saleh. I should say Bob Saleh. I think that Robert Saleh needs to go back to being a defensive coordinator just for a little bit of time. And this is another conversation we had today on the show where I was like, should Robert Saleh go back to the 49ers? I understand why they want to offer him the DC job he interviewed today, and I don't know how that interview goes where he's just like, sup? Hey, what's up, man? So, long year in New York, huh? Yeah. Man, Woody Johnson's fucking crazy, huh? Yeah, he wants to, get guys based on Madden ratings. Yeah, that's nuts. So you want the gig? Yeah, sure. Like, what do you say that's so different? Like, do you think it's crazy? And I know I'm going off on a tangent here with Robert Saleh for a second, Steven. My whole thing is, I brought this up before. Do you think that it's in the best interest for Robert Saleh to go back to the 49ers because then he's just going back to Kyle every time that things don't work out? Like, I know that's different than Matt Patricia and Josh McDaniels, but for me, I think Robert Saleh should go to a different team, change that defense, and then that would probably help him get a head coaching gig again, as opposed to just going back to the 49ers.
Well, that's an entirely different conversation, because one issue I had with Shanahan when he was talking about what he wants in his next defensive coordinator, there's not going to be a scheme change. So you're just going to keep rushing for and go with this.
Well, we can talk more about that, but he said he's open to that.
He said he liked the scheme that they're in.
Yeah, but he also said he'd be open to changing it.
The scheme stinks now. With you don't have as much talent as you had in 2019 or 2022. The scheme's not as good. They need to change the scheme. They do. And me and Bonte were talking about that. They absolutely need that. That's a different conversation. Though, if they bring, I don't know, Dre Greenlaw back, maybe get another strong safety to pair up alongside Malik Mustafa at free safety. If Diamador Lenore is the true number one cornerback that people think that he could be, I don't think it'd be the worst thing for Saleh to go back as defensive coordinator with Shanahan.
I don't think it's a bad move. I just don't know if it's the best move for him to show that he can go to a different team and do it all over again with like the Cincinnati Bengals. That's the team that I keep bringing up where I think that'd be perfect for Saleh.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if going back as a defensive coordinator is the best thing for him. I mean, shoot, if you got a head coaching job, you take it.
Well, no, of course, but I'll be real here. I don't think the Raiders are hiring Saleh. I don't think the Jaguars are hiring Saleh. I don't think those are good situations for Saleh right now.
Right. Yeah.
So we can get to go about Robert Saleh in a little bit here, but this is going to be interesting, man. Like, I think that this is either a move to go all in to get Vrabel or to go get Ben Johnson. And I did bring this up, and I'm sure you heard it. Do you think at the end of the day, if they just don't have any options, that Mark's like, well, I know the guy that I wanted all along, and I had to fire him a couple of years ago. Do you think that Gruden's on the table?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I do.
Well, why do you say unfortunately?
Because, Derek, we went through it. He's not as good of a coach as we all think.
I disagree.
Why?
Because, Steven, whether you like it or not, he did win a Super Bowl.
Derek, that was 20 years ago. Over 20 years ago. Since then, his teams have been mediocre. Mediocre.
I still don't believe that season where he was fired, it wouldn't have not gone well. I do believe they still would have made the playoffs that year.
Well, sure. Oh, okay, fine, but that's such a hypothetical. I,
They did start 3-0 and then lost 2 games, and then he was let go
dude,
because for obvious reasons.
yes, okay, but look at his past. It's not the emails. I'm talking about the history of him being a head coach. It since 2004, Derek. Average, average. So I don't know what makes you think that team would have been a playoff team. Henry Ruggs, by the way, would have still happened regardless.
No, I'm not questioning that.
So that would have been a big issue.
I hear you, man, but I also think that John Gruden, yes, he did have some terrible seasons in the NFL, but a lot of coaches do. And I think that he's the original young, offensive mastermind. And I think that he can adapt with the times a little bit. He can't be as arrogant as he was when he got the Raider gig the second time around. Now, I do think it would have been good to keep Tom Telesco and have Gruden be there because he wouldn't, like, you got to tell him, you have to make it work with Tom. You have to make it work. I don't care what you want in as far as personnel. You could contribute and say what your, who you want, but at the end of the day, the GM's making the final call. And like honestly, it may not be a bad situation the Raiders did fire Tom Telesco because you're looking around the league now and the Jaguars, okay, you got to make it work with Trent Baalke. With Tennessee, this new GM could hate Brian Callahan because you fired Rand Carthon. So the Raiders are going about the right way. However, I think they're setting it up where the head coach gets the final say on everything. So you can't give that back to Gruden. You can't do that.
No, you cannot.
So okay, what about Brian Flores, who knows Tom Brady from New England?
I'd entertain it.
Yeah. I don't hate that. I do think at this point though, I think with Tom in charge, it sounds like I would not be surprised that he wants to go all offense. He like either it's Vrabel or it's an offensive play caller.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think just as much as Brian Flores, the other guy in Detroit, Aaron Glenn, stuff that's coming out about him, like he's been eager to get a head coaching job. His defense,
He'll get one.
His defenses just haven't been that good, at least up until Dan Campbell became the head coach, and finally the players started buying into what the Lions wanted to do.
I think, honestly, he got himself a head coaching job from his performance last Sunday because we all know how depleted that defense is. And for him to scheme it up with blitzes to get in Sam Darnold's face, he'll definitely get a head coaching job.
Yeah, and he did this interview with the Pivot, and the guy knows what he wants, and I think he knows how to be a leader. But then you got to have faith in him to choose the coaching staff. There's so many things that have to go right. Yeah. Like I really do look at the 49ers as kind of, I guess, a template, but maybe it's because we've been just so close to them and watching how they built it from really the ground up. But like it starts with the draft. I like the way that Lynch puts it, calling the draft the lifeblood of their organization. They got to draft well. They obviously have to have the right GM head coaching pairing. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch seem to, even though they might disagree a lot, they seem to really like each other and work well with one another and have a good working relationship. You got to make some bold decisions. You got to make some bold moves. Albeit they are kind of lucky that Brock Purdy is who he is because might have saved their jobs. Really, like I think if they didn't figure out the quarterback situation after the whole Trey Lance debacle, I think we really would be having hot seat discussions when it comes to Lynch and Shanahan. Like I think we would be at that point. But they did build their team in a couple of years, and they did it really with virtually nothing beforehand except what DeForest Buckner, I guess, and then Jimmy Garoppolo eventually. Like I think they need a lot to go right here. And it's more than just like the head coach and the general manager.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, we'll transition to Niners here in a little bit, but just to finish with the conversation on the Raiders. Yeah, I think that there's good candidates out there. It's just a matter of, out of all the openings right now, Yeah, I mean, in the long we're talking about it, I think the Raiders are the worst. Like as far as like not having a quarterback, you don't know what you're going to get quarterback wise in the draft. But maybe as far as power, it's the best because everywhere else, let's see here. So Patriots, you got Elliot Wolf, who's the de facto GM. Jaguars, you got Trent Baalke.
Mhm.
Bears, you got Ryan Poles.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, and the rumor is that Ben Johnson wants the Bears job but doesn't want Ryan Poles. So it may be that the Raiders are the only spot that's offering the power to Ben Johnson to pick who he wants.
that's what I'm saying. I think we're underselling. I think we're underselling the idea that they get to choose their own general manager. I think that's a huge part of it for a head coach.
Yeah, that might be the difference. I don't. Yeah, you could be right here.
It
Where
has to be
Tom,
the difference. It
no,
has.
no, no. Well, everything else is not as good, but like that's probably what Tom Brady was like. We can offer something that everybody else can't.
Yeah,
Power.
and the team actually has a leader. I don't know if the Bears have one yet in Caleb Williams. Trevor Lawrence. eh, Have you ever heard him talk to his team and give them like a pump up speech?
Yeah, but you know we said that about Justin Herbert a year ago, and things change.
Well, yeah, but then he got Jim Harbaugh, and that all changed too. And Jim Harbaugh totally changed things there. I think
You don't think
that
that someone could do that with Jacksonville?
no,
I
no,
think
I
if,
don't think
I think if Pete got there, he probably was like, you need to take a little more confidence and lead the troops a little bit.
maybe. But even like, it's not even like on Herbert though. I'd even look at like Khalil Mack or Derwin James as more like vocal leaders on that team now, believe it or not. And then the Raiders, you have Max Crosby. But and also the Patriots, I don't know. Drake May actually seems to be. I think Drake May can be a really great leader for a team, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably underrating that part. I haven't really seen much of Drake May, but it doesn't feel like they have that bona fide leader. Raiders do,
Yeah.
and that's Max Crosby, who sets the tone.
Yeah.
So I think that's another thing too.
Definitely. And finishing up on Aaron Glenn, I think at the end of the day, he goes to the Saints. It sounds like that's the team he's been linked to the most.
Right.
And props to him. He was going to interview with the Patriots asked to interview with him, and he was like, nope, no thanks. I know what the deal is. I think that everybody understands at this point, Vrabel's getting the Patriots job. And you could tell the other day, not to be mean, but Byron Leftwich and Pep Hamilton, good coaches. Well, Pep Hamilton, I think more. Pep Hamilton's been around the league for quite more time and in college. Byron Leftwich hasn't been in the NFL since Tom Brady left Tampa, and he was fired. Those are, I hate saying this, but like I think everyone perceived those as just Rooney Rule interviews.
Yeah.
And now today you saw I don't know if you saw the graphic, Steven, where the Patriots announced, we've interviewed Mike Vrabel in person in Boston. This is going to happen. I think the Raiders are trying their best, and it may be Ben Johnson. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, Mike Vrabel goes to the Patriots.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's likely to happen.
Yeah, which is fine. Okay, moving on to the 49ers. They fired Nick Sorensen. They fired Brian Schneider. They elevated Clay Kubiak. See, Steven? I told you it mattered. And they had the press conference yesterday. Just some of the highlights. Javon Hargrave will be cut when the new league year starts. I think that was kind of expected at this point. And yeah, the Kyle did say that he's open to anything with his new defensive coordinator. He's going to give Brandon Staley a shot, as he put it, as an internal candidate. But the way he said it was so like, I'll give him a shot. Brandon Staley's not a serious candidate. They supposedly interviewed. I mean, they interviewed Robert Saleh, but they may have already offered the job to him. You got Jeff Ulbrich, you got Lou Anarumo, you got Gus Bradley, you got Dennis Allen, you got many different options there. All guys that run a 4-3 scheme. I know that Kyle said I'm open to anything as far as a scheme. He does like the 4-3 scheme, but the bottom line is nothing's going to improve unless they get different personnel. Like you can have the best defense coordinator in the world, but the truth is they got to change that defensive line. They have to have Drake Greenlaw back. They got to do something to change the personnel on that defense. So it's not just, well, if you get Robert Saleh, everything's going to change. Nah, they need to get better players. They're all in on Purdy. Everyone realizes that by now. Interesting moment between Kawakami and Kyle, where Kawakami said, "You don't really care about special teams," and Kyle was like, "Well, what do you mean by that?" And then John was like, "Whoa, everybody calm down. Everybody calm down here."
Yeah,
which
that
is
was fun.
That's a good GM. That's a good GM right there. So yeah, all in all, they got to find a defensive coordinator. I think that they would love to have Saleh back. Second option's probably Jeff Ulbrich. And we'll see if Saleh, he's going to interview for head coaching jobs. We'll see if he wants to take it.
If it had to come down to it, let's just hypothetical here. If it came down to they had to choose either Kyle Juszczyk or Dre Greenlaw, who would you choose?
Oh, Dre Greenlaw.
Yeah. I think they need to re-sign him.
They do, but I think they can get away with offering him a 1-year deal.
Right, but I'm saying re-sign him, whatever it takes. If they can get away with that, then great. Just do whatever it takes to re-sign him. If you're talking about personnel.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and they definitely need him. But do you think? I mean, as far as other teams that'd be interested, the one that comes to mind, it's obvious, is DeMeco Ryans and the Houston Texans.
Sure,
but their linebacking core is pretty good right now. You could obviously upgrade to getting a Dre Greenlaw. I think it either is the league sees his injuries and let's have you prove it this year with a 1-year deal, or some teams are comfortable enough. Okay, we'll give you a 2-year deal, and then the Niners have to decide if they need to up that to 3 years. He's a young player, but he is coming off an Achilles, and he only played in 1 game this year. So, it is dicey.
But even that half, the difference that it made against the Rams. Dude.
I know, man, but contract. I mean, GMs feel that way.
Yeah. Who's their number 2 corner now?
Renato Green.
I guess he had flashes.
Yeah.
He had flashes. That'll be all right. I don't know. I mean, there's nothing to draw from the press conference, because I think the answer about Dre Greenlaw was about as telling as any, which is just, we don't even know what we're doing yet. They might have an idea, but they don't know what the market looks like. The NFL is still playing is still in playoff mode. 49er fans are so used to their season ending after all of football's over that they immediately think free agency starts right away. Nah, you got to wait a little bit.
Yeah.
The season's done before the postseason. They don't know what's going on. They're taking some time here. We just got done with our exit interviews and stuff.
That's why I think the whole freak out over Dre Greenlaw's wife and Fred Warner's wife reacting having the party of being oh, we're done and this is it. We're never going to see our friends again. This is when players go vacation in the off season, so they're not going to. They're expecting to not see them again. They very well could. No one knows anything right now. So everybody calm down. It's not like Dre Greenlaw is I'm done. They told me I'm done. No, they have to let the market play out. No one knows anything right now.
It's so funny, man. It's just, we see one thing, and 49er fans are just so accustomed to being in the postseason until the very end of the season, or at least until there's 1 game left. But no, there's still 3 more weeks, at least 5 weeks now.
I mean, last year they were way behind when they hired Nick Sorensen after the Super Bowl, because you usually don't fire a defensive coordinator after you go to the Super Bowl.
Right.
This time around, they have options and they got time.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't hire Nick Sorensen, I believe, until March.
Yeah, but I think we also know that Sorensen was in over his head, and if they want to retain him on the staff, then they just hired him because they needed a defensive coordinator and just gave him the job. And maybe that's why they brought in Brandon Staley as an assistant coach, maybe to help out, not to help out Shanahan, but more to help out Sorensen.
I think the story with Brandon Staley is Staley was still one of the best options out there, and they probably did not want to change the scheme up. He's a 3-4 defensive coordinator.
Yep.
So he probably told them, if I'm defensive coordinator, I'd like to run a 3-4. And Kyle's like, that's a big drastic change for us this late in the game. So I would prefer if you come on staff, but you help out an inexperienced Nick Sorensen. He agreed to it. Now, when I asked Dante Whitner what he wants to do with the defense next year, I gave him all the options of the defensive coordinators that are available: Robert Saleh, Lou Anarumo, Jeff Ulbrich, Gus Bradley, Dennis Allen, and he said, I don't want any of those guys. I think you need to start fresh. I think you need to change the scheme to a 3-4 defense. And he says a lot of teams are running that now. It's 4-3. It's kind of basic.
Dude,
Not a
he's been calling for that for years. Whitner was first on. He was doing that on 95.7 on Joe Low and Dibs.
yeah.
We ran with that for like an entire week, changing the scheme for a 3-4 defense and how big of a deal that is, because that's how you can maximize Solomon Thomas.
Yep, and that's what he ran with Vic Fangio with the 49ers back in the day.
Right.
So, but is Bosa good as an outside linebacker? Maybe, probably. If you just rush him, you drop him into coverage, that'd be different.
I don't think that would work.
What Bosa? Oh, Bosa in coverage.
Yeah, Bosa in coverage would have
Yeah,
worked.
but also like not like we always say that, but like none of these guys, like TJ Watt is not like covering linebacker or tight ends. Like he's still rushing every play or sending the edge. So it'd be fine. And the truth is 3-4, 4-3. You just need versatility in your defense. Most of the time you're in nickel anyway. So this whole base defense thing doesn't really matter. So yeah, they have decisions to make. The big thing, I mean, this was not like the biggest thing, but I found it funny. Was I forget who asked it, but is the plan for Deebo Samuel to be on the roster this year? And John Lynch is like, well, he's under contract, so yeah, that's the go-to line. That is the go-to line for any GM when, yeah, he's on the roster, but we're not. We're going to be fielding calls. I definitely believe it's the same thing as Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel and even Drew Rosenhaus in the pregame before this Orange Bowl saying, yeah, we talked to Tyreek Hill. You guys understanding. He's going to be on this football team next year. I'm not buying it.
Well,
I'm not buying it with Deebo Samuel. I'm not buying it with Tyreek Hill. I think both guys get traded this year.
Well, I think that question also set John Lynch up just to do classic John Lynch politicking. I think the question would have been more suited, and maybe I should have gone down there to ask it. But I didn't know it was going to be straight up. Do you see Deebo Samuel on this team next year? I more ask it like, okay, so you have Brandon Ayuk, Ricky Pearsall, you just took Jacob Cowing, and then you have Deebo Samuel. We're probably getting Christian McCaffrey back. Like, where do you see Deebo Samuel fitting in this roster next year? Is he going to be your number 2 receiver? Is Ricky Pierce? What do you see him doing? Like, because all he was doing was returning. Like, that's where he was best this year, and obviously wasn't as good running the football. So I would have rather had that question and kind of put them in that one, because Lynch is so good at just dodging questions and saying nothing. Like the Deebo Samuel one, Dre Greenlaw was a little more convinced. Like we've had good conversations with Trey. We want him back. He wants to be back. And then obviously the Brock Purdy thing too. But the Deebo thing, I'm like, I kind of left the door open there. He didn't speak with full conviction on that.
That's why some of us were kind of thinking that Brandon Ayuk could be traded, because every press conference that dealt with Brandon Ayuk last offseason was, we're trying our best. I mean, and there came today from all the reports that they were this close to trading him to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then Kyle burst in the door and said, "You can't do this. I love him." So yeah, I think they're gonna shop around, and they're gonna try to trade Deebo Samuel, and that would have been a good question to ask Steven. But I think he also would have said Deebo's gonna play the same role that he's always played on this team, and that's just
true. Maybe I should have asked, like, well, where do you see Brandon Ayuk and Ricky Pearsall? How is that all fitting in? Like, I don't know.
Kyle, and Kyle doesn't want to answer that right now.
Well, you struggle with all players and stuff. You try to get the ball to as many guys as you can and stuff, because, everyone wants to play and stuff. But the reality of the situation, you can't get everyone involved in stuff. I saw it on Insta. Dude, that's actually that was really good. That's exactly what he'd say. That was really good. Dude, he'd go on. Dude, I went on Instagram earlier. I saw Deebo like posting like all of his fits, his pregame fits, walking into the tunnel fits. And then someone the top comment on there, respect to Deebo for keeping him, but the top comment on there was, bro, you know how many fit photos you've posted than scoring touchdowns? Score more touchdowns than league fits, then we'll actually talk. It's like, if he stays with the 49ers, it's going to be bad for him. I don't think it's going to be good for his confidence. I think you saw it in the Rams game. Or was it the Rams or the Seahawks? No, it was the Rams game. I thought you saw him just implode Thursday night.
Yeah.
Dude, those drops, that was mental. That wasn't a physical thing.
No, of
That was
course.
mental.
No, but he hasn't looked good since he called out Tabor Pepper, to be completely honest. And
No,
then
he
like
is not.
everything of him in the locker room is him, just like his hands around a backpack, just and him just kind of like, so DB, you want to be here next year? Oh, for sure, for sure. You cool with Kyle? Yeah, me and Kyle are good. Yep. And it's just like no enthusiasm. Like Juwan Jennings, like that guy wants to be a 49er and doesn't want to talk about himself after losses. Debo, like after a win, is willing to say like I'm not getting the ball enough.
Yeah.
What the hell are you doing right now? Moving your head around.
That's Debo looking at every reporter.
Oh, yeah.
I just wish I had a hoodie. If I had like a hoodie on, that would look a lot better because he's always got the hood on and just leans his head back.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't really
Yeah.
care. Maybe
Yeah.
that's media though, dude. Like I don't know if that's a thing. He's not interested in the team. I just don't think he's interested.
No, I don't
in
think that.
answering
I don't think he's disinterested in the team. I think that he knew the writing on the wall a year ago when they drafted Ricky Pearsall, and it's been a thing for a while now. He cannot get off man coverage.
Yeah.
Teams are playing man coverage on this team, and Debo Samuel has having a hard time against it. If the ball is not in his hands prior to like the ball needs to be in his hands in order for him to do something with it. Now, there's instances where he's able to go do a go route, like the touchdown against the Seahawks, or the one he had a couple years ago against the Detroit Lions, where he caught a deep ball. But that's rare. It's usually a screen pass, or him as a running back, or a jet sweep. It needs to be more than that. It needs to be where he is a pure wide receiver, and they need to change the offense up a little bit in that way. So I think that Debo would work better on the Bills. I think he would work better on the Baltimore Ravens. I think that there will be a team interested in him. He just doesn't work on the 49ers anymore.
No, and it really has been going on since that draft where AJ Brown got traded from the Titans to the Eagles. Like even then, we were thinking Debo could potentially.
That's because he wanted the contract.
Yeah, like it's happened since then.
Yeah,
I think it'd be in his best interest to go somewhere else.
I think so too, and I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if we get like a trade request thing. But I think at this point, John Lynch is like, by all means, sir, trade request away. We are shopping.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, before we do picks, the Warriors did win, just barely though, over the Detroit Pistons. And this Piston team's a lot better. Cade Cunningham, they won 107-104 over the Pistons, back to over 500, 19-18. However, that game the other night against the Miami Heat, good Lord, to lose to the Miami Heat after they're coming off a back-to-back in a game against the Sacramento Kings where they went to double overtime. That was by far the worst loss of the season. They just came out flat. The Warriors had no answers defensively, no answers offensively. The Heat ran this zone on them that Gary St. Jean called high school like. Like it was ridiculous. And from what Mark Spears has reported, he talked to Miami Heat players in the locker room after the game, and he asked them, "Are they this bad?" And he's like, and the Heat players are like, "They're bad. Like we can do whatever we want on them right now." So. And you listen to Steph, and man, that was like from him lately, from him saying we're mid, the clock's ticking, we can't come back from large deficits. The biggest telling one to me was his body language against the Heat, where he was pacing around, looking frustrated, and then the post game where he's like, just another no show, and we got to dig deep and trying to make the best of the whole situation. And then Anthony Slater asks him, how does this team improve offensively? He just goes, I don't have an answer for you. That is him being like, this team is not good, and we're not going to get better, and I need help. And I don't know how quickly we could do this. And then for Steve Kerr to come out and say we have a crisis of confidence. He always puts it beautifully. And then, the one reporter's like, yeah, it was a disappointing night, but what do you make of Trace Jackson Davis? He's like, I don't give a damn about Trace Jackson Davis. Who cares? And then like Monty Poole's like the best part was Monty. Did you hear this part, Steven, where he goes, so Steve, Obviously, Steph's frustrated, but I mean, what about the younger guys on this team? Like, obviously, this is below expectations for the Warriors. And Steve goes, "It is. So, what's your question?" And Monty's like, "Well, how do the young players respond to this? They stay quiet. They don't say much." And then, I forget who it was. Then I think it was Anthony Slater who was like, "So, how do you change things? Like get into the line and getting free throws and layups." He's like, "Well, that's not just really like a confidence thing. That's a personnel thing." And then Slater follows up and says, "So if it's a personnel thing, are you making an effort to talk to Mike?" He goes, "Oh, I'm not going there. That's for Mike to talk to you guys about."
Yeah.
That is the most I've heard both guys be at a loss of words
Yep.
as to how to improve the team. I think they both realize we can't win with these guys. We need to change this whole team.
Yep. Yep. Triple D guru. Diners, drive-ins, and dives. Deflated, defeated, despair. That's what I heard from those. Like I've never heard that from Steph. Steve Kerr's one thing. Like Steve Kerr, heard it before.
Yeah.
But Steph, he said the P word, Derek. He said pissed off.
Yeah.
Steph don't swear. Well, that's not really swearing.
Nah, he does.
He does on the court.
Yes.
Steph doesn't say that. He doesn't say I'm pissed off.
Yep.
I've never heard him sound like that.
Yeah.
I've never heard him sound like that. Like defeated, I think is the best word because Steph has so much confidence in the world and he's always been doubted. Like he's never had that feeling of defeat, really. Like obviously he's lost. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like defeated. Just I don't know. I don't know anymore. Normally he has the confidence that he'll bounce back. Even he can put the team on his back and then, carry him the rest of the way. You don't feel like he could carry this team. And I don't think any play really embodies the frustration more than that Buddy Hield 3 that's just been replayed over and over on social media. And anyone who was watching just thought, what the hell is going on? And I know they got the win over the Pistons, but look, Guy Santos plays with a lot of energy whenever he gets his chance. He's played, this is probably the most minutes he's played in a single game. Before this, he played 11 games for over a course of 59 minutes in his career. Of course, he's going to bring energy every time. Can he do this on a nightly basis? Probably not. Look, they need so much right now. And Derek, I'm almost like I've been joking about a Steph Curry trade because the Warriors aren't going to let that happen. Same way, where the 49ers are going to pay Brock Purdy, right? It's because Brock Purdy damn near saved John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan's job. Like they should reward him for what he's done as a last overall draft pick. I think he's earned that. Steph Curry has absolutely earned the right to do whatever he wants, and he's earned the right to stay on this team and for them to not trade him because he's basically the one who built Chase Center and it has been the catalyst for who the Warriors are today, one of the most popular basketball teams in the world. But I'll throw it back at you. What if Steph Curry is like, I can't do this anymore. We're not going anywhere. What if he, the Mr. Good Guy, Mr. 30, the Bay Area legend, what if he's like, I need to get one more shot at this. I got a little bit left in the tank. I can help a team win.
By all means, Steph, which place is going to give you that freedom?
Charlotte.
Yeah. This is why Steph is not going anywhere, why LeBron's not going anywhere. You can bitch and complain that you're playing in the play-in every year, but the reality is no team is going to give you the freedom and the power that you have currently right now with the Warriors or the Lakers. That's why those guys are never leaving.
I disagree.
Why do you say that?
Because I don't think freedom and power matters as much as potentially winning another championship.
Steph has always called the shots here, man.
I know.
So
what if he calls the shot?
So does he? Okay, so go join. Okay, like by all means, like what other team would make it where he's the star, he's the guy?
They don't have to. He doesn't need that.
I disagree.
Yeah, you can. I'm just saying.
And also, I would think Joe Lacob would be like, whoa, hang on, Steph, hang on. Okay. Listen. Before we get drastic, I'll do it whatever it takes. Okay, I don't care about the rules. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make you happy. All right? Want to sleep with my wife? You can do that. Fine. No, I'm kidding. What?
I wouldn't put it past him.
But what I think that Steph, at the end of the day, wants to. Can't believe I just said that. What the Warriors offer him more than any other team can, as far as power and control. So while we're all searching for answers and solutions for this season, I don't think there is anything that he could do. I don't.
Funny. It's not that funny, but like, God damn it! I don't know why. I don't know why that made me laugh so hard. God damn it! Oh,
But I think that I think it would Joe at the end of the day would rather do everything he can to keep Steph than just trade him away to another team. So
I know.
While we're talking about Vucevic and Jimmy Butler and Cam Johnson, I don't think any of those moves help them to be better than a play-in team. Because I think that's what they are. And I think what they really need to do is to trade Kuminga before the deadline. Because at this point, we know what Kuminga is. He could very well be a superstar on another team, but he just doesn't fit right now. And if he is a superstar, cool. But he's not on the Warriors right now, and they're running out of time.
But Derek, I think we know he's not a number one. Like, you'll hear analysts talk about this all the time. Like, can this guy be, the second or third best player on the team and win him a championship? Absolutely. But Jonathan Kuminga, and I think Jonathan Kuminga can be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he could be a number one.
Yeah.
The best player on the team. If Jonathan Kuminga is your best player, then you are no more than potentially a playoff. I don't know. Maybe you get a 6th seed if you have you get a 6th seed if you're on a storybook run, but Kuminga can't be that number one guy. There has to be someone that's either better or at least equal to him.
And I don't think that he plays well with Steph Curry, to be completely honest. I think that there's games where he could take over. Like, he plays better when Steph's not on the court, to be honest. Like, I think that there's times where they, work well together, but I think at this point, you're not going anywhere, and you can't just wait for him to come back and then things get turned around. By the time he comes back, it's time to make decisions on the trade deadline. Yeah. So I would trade Jonathan Kuminga. I would move on from him. And then you got to think about, I let that play out and see what you can get. If it is Cam Johnson in return, then cool, you got him. But then this offseason, you guys start making some drastic changes, and I'd be willing to put everybody on the table except Steph. And yes, that includes Draymond Green, because at this point, nothing's changing. They are the same middling play-in team. If they really want to be serious about maximizing this guy's time as a Golden State Warrior, they need to go all in and all out and have a mix of trading away players, draft picks, getting draft picks in return. It needs to be the competitive rebuild with Steph. Before, I was like, just rebuild with Steph and see what you could do. You're running out of time after this season. You got 2 years left, 1 year left with Steve. Go all in, go crazy, do what you can.
It's desperation time.
Yeah.
You have reached threat level midnight. Shout out Michael Scott. You're there. Do whatever you can. I don't know if any of these moves are going to maximize Steph, but something needs to change. Something needs to change because we both know that Steph and Steve Kerr are likely done in a package deal.
Mm-hmm. Well, Steve before Steph, I guess, with 1 year.
Steve is probably going to go before Steph. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they got to do something. Worst case scenario, absolute worst, you don't do anything. Like, I'll just say this. What if Steph decides I'm cool playing basketball? I'm good. I know he's under contract, but what if he's like, I can't do this anymore. I can't take another year of this. It's too stressful. I want to spend time with my family. I want to focus on my Tiger Woods golf league. You see any of that?
No.
Dude, him, Klay Thompson, and Andre Iguodala own a team. They're part of the ownership group on a team in Tiger Woods' new golf league. It's called the Tomorrow Golf League. It's literally an indoor golf league, dude. They have like a They have like this huge 65 by 54-foot screen. It's a huge simulator, and they have like 6 teams of 4 players, and Tiger and Rory McIlroy started it. They're obviously playing in it too, but they have like actual greens and actual chipping. I don't even know what you'd call it, but like where it's an actual course with real grass, real bunkers, and you could chip and putt, and it's like legit. They get mic'd up and everything, so they actually have an actual team on there.
That sounds like a better idea than what Steph decided to do for the All-Star game. I'll say that.
What was that?
Oh, just the 4 different teams and 4. It's not good.
Yeah, all that. Yeah. So basically, they're playing video games, sort of. AJ, yeah, it's like they're driving off the tee, but hitting into a screen as if it's a real golf course. And then, I mean, these guys are so good; they're probably going to hit it down the middle every time. So they just like put the ball, they measure it out, and they put the ball where it potentially would land. Then they chip and they putt. Everyone has a good time. So Bay Golf Club was perfect on their opening night. That was on Tuesday.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Back to your hypothetical. So
ESPN.
Okay. Back to your hypothetical that Steph just wants to hoop. So what was the end here, Steven? That he wants to go to a different team?
No, just what if he just wants to ride off into the sunset and just play one more year and have his farewell season, and we say goodbye to number 30? What if he says that?
I'm cool with that too. I mean, at this point, look, I know I'm different than other Warrior fans, where I'm like, I've seen Steph win 4. I'm content, but I know how that's how people don't want to finish their careers. So if Steph, they should go all out for Steph to win one more. But if they don't, I mean, I'm kind of reserved to the idea that they're not going to do it one more time, and I'm okay with that.
I'd say just threaten that you'll retire. Just go into Mike Dunleavy's office and say, "Bro, if you don't get this thing figured out by February 6th, I'm retiring next year."
Dude, Steph's not that type of guy.
Derek, I know this. Can you please have fun with this conversation?
I can't have fun with anything, Steven. You know that.
I know you can't.
Everything I say is serious. Case in point, what I said about Joe Lacob just a few minutes ago.
Correct.
Yeah, we'll see. I have no faith for this season. It's this off season where you see certain guys, like I would never want like a LeBron James or Kyrie Irving, or the name that keeps popping up that everybody keeps talking about. You see, like the Warriors are disappointing. You know who's more disappointing?
Suns.
Yep. Just what would it take for Matt Ishbia to be like, all right, this isn't working. KD, go ahead. Go back. Do it one more time with Steph.
Kuminga. Kuminga. I'm saying Suns. I'm saying for the Suns. Wiggins. You could take Hield if you want, but you're probably not going to take him.
Nah.
Guy Santos. You got a superstar in the making.
I would say Kuminga, Wiggins, GP2.
Oh,
but it would have to be, I guess, this season because he's going to be a free agent next year. So maybe that doesn't work out. Trace Jackson Davis, maybe you got to throw in there.
Really?
A lot. It'll be a lot to get KD back, but that's the way that Steph would want it probably. But even then, like would Steph and KD at this point at 30 plus be enough to compete in the Western Conference with those young guys? Like last night, the only thing that was on sports wise was Cavaliers Thunder, and that was a great matchup. But both those teams are incredibly young. I don't know if the Warriors can stand a chance with either of those teams when it matters.
No, and who's to say that another team doesn't swing a big trading nets a superstar? I mean, I know he's the guy over there, but Timberwolves aren't working right now, and for whatever reason, they let Karl Anthony Towns go to New York. Like Anthony Edwards' name has even been brought up in some of these discussions. I know they're not going to do that.
You can't do that.
I know, but they're only 20-17 right now. They've been underperforming compared to last year. But but you're right though. Like these teams are only getting better. Grizzlies are back. The Thunder are the Thunder. Mavs are the Mavs. These teams are only getting better, dude. But at the same time, I'm cool with it just because you need to do something crazy.
No, you do.
Something that's risky. Come on. Evil Knievel this shit, Mike.
Well, I think that Lakeup, from what the reports were, Lakeup talked to Dunleavy for a long bit of time after that game where the media saw it. So maybe something's up their sleeves. Who knows?
You're really tall. You're really tall. Strong handshake. I like you as a guy.
I want you to look at me. I'm talking to you right now. I want Cal Comedy to see me that knows that I'm being serious right now. I want to make a move. I don't care about the rules.
There's a clip that Warriors World has been posting where I don't even know the context of it. It's like it's Joe Lacob. He's doing an interview. I think he might have been talking about like the construction of Chase Center, or I don't know. It might have been that actually. He just managed to clip the little 3 seconds where he said, "We're not trying to build just a basketball team," and that's it. Just cuts it off.
A media empire.
Yeah.
Ernie One asks, has Derek met Lakeup? Yeah. Never like had a conversation with him, but he came in studio that one time to talk to Greg Abante. And it was like literally after like Steph got hurt and we played like the highlight of him getting hurt, and Joe Lakeup was pissed. And he was like, glad to be here until I heard that. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And
we
then
had him in studio once.
Yeah.
And,
but then Steven, remember that sketch we did back in the day where it was you and me, and it was like, oh, you and me, Joe Lakeup, could be best friends. Right you are, Derek. Right you are. And then like Queen played in the background. Ooh, you make me live.
I don't think Joe Lacob ever wants to meet us.
Probably not. Probably
No.
not. Before we make our picks for Wildcard Weekend, Steven,
what were your thoughts? Viewers alert. We got 69 viewers.
69 now.
Nice.
Me and my baby in 69. All right, before we get out of here, Steven, we'll do our wildcard picks to end things. But what are your thoughts on Justin Verlander and Kate Upton coming to San Francisco, 1 year, $15 million?
Not as creepy as all you sports radio people. My God.
Hey man, that's all I had. That's
all anyone.
That's all I had. Like I know Justin Verlander from back in the day of pitching against the A's, but I haven't seen him recently. And Copes is saying all these stats, and I'm like, I can't keep up with this. I don't know any of this shit. So I basically was like, yeah, Kate Upton, ooh la la, ah wee wee.
Yeah, but you got Kate Upton, but you also get his brother Ben.
Yeah, what's his deal?
Loves himself some Shohei. Look, dude, it's low risk, high reward. I'm all for bringing in those guys. Giants have a young rotation. I don't think we credit enough what type of wisdom these guys can impart on the younger players. And Shasky and I were talking about this actually. It's like guys like Brad Penny, even Randy Johnson, like when they came in, they're not going to put up the same numbers. They're not going to lead the league in earned run average. They're not going to lead the league in strikeouts again. But at the very least, they could help those guys. I was shocked though. I just didn't expect Verlander because, like, I'm not to say Buster Posey had a bad relationship with any of his opponents, but it's like, damn, like Posey, you were a freshman in college when Verlander got started. You really want to bring him in? That's also what's crazy is that he's still playing. I mean, the guy's turning 42 at the end of February, and he's still playing baseball. So shout out to him, man. He was ahead of the game in terms of velocity before anyone else was. He used to start out throwing like 92, 93, low 90s at the beginning of a game. Then as the game would go on, he'd get into the mid 90s, changing speeds. And obviously he had his off-speed pitches. Just a master of his craft. I don't see any issue with bringing him in on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, I mean, when you see it's a 1-year deal for $15 million, you're like, all right, that makes sense. And they needed to pivot because they were definitely in on Corbin Burns and didn't end up getting him. And you could say, well, they didn't offer what the D-backs did, or it was the opt-outs. I think this is just Buster Posey wanting baseball guys, wanting guys to change the locker room or the clubhouse, I should say. And yeah. Verlander, it's every comparison I hear is Randy Johnson in 2009. I didn't watch then. I don't know. But that was the year before they went on their championship runs. So who's to say that this can help this young team? I will say I've heard some people be like, yeah, but can this take away from the young pitchers right now on the roster? And I'm like, yes and no. Like, are all those guys solidified right now? Like, could some of them go down to AAA at some point? And, you know, Yeah, you got Kyle Harrison and Hayden Birdsong and all these guys, but they're not really proven yet. So why not get Justin Verlander? And also, let's be honest here, probably good trade asset at the deadline too. If it's not panning out, the team's not good.
The only one this hurts to me is Jordan Hicks. Jordan Hicks had his place in the starting rotation, and I think this more than anything makes him like a
reliever,
surefire reliever. Like I think that puts him back into the bullpen, no doubt. Like I
Yeah.
saw the starting. Someone put out the projected starting five. I think it was like Fox MLB, but they didn't have Hayden Birdsong in there. Instead, they had Jordan Hicks. I'm like, I don't think the Giants are going to go that route.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, Farhan had the idea of making him a starter, but in the end, probably Buster Posey's like, he needs to go back to his natural position.
Someone got a picture of him. He's in San Francisco still. Very unfortunate.
I saw that. Yeah, who was that ghost of Barry Bob?
Yeah, he was in San Francisco carrying what looked like a bunch of boxes of donuts or something.
I don't know if that was a real photo.
Was it not?
I don't know. I mean, maybe, but like,
it looked very real.
Didn't he? Was it ever confirmed that he actually joined the Dodgers?
No.
So we don't know what he's doing right now.
No clue.
Maybe we'll ask him to come in studio then, hang out with us.
Yeah,
I'm sure that will go over well.
I'm sure he very much wants that. Yeah,
well, we were nice to him.
Oh yeah, you guys were. Yeah,
we're probably the only people that were nice to him.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Okay. Let's do some picks here for Wild Card Weekend.
Ooh.
And it's not Super Wild Card Weekend anymore, Steven. Just Wild Card Weekend. They got rid of the Super.
I know. Anyone who listened to the beginning at your show at the beginning of 2:00 knew that.
Yes, it's very important news, Steven.
It is.
All right, here we go. A little something we call wins or wings.
Oh shoot! I almost accidentally hit that countdown thing.
Oh, again, just like 30, 29. All right, so here we go. Super Wild Card Weekend minus the Super, and it all starts on Saturday. And whenever the Houston Texans play, you best believe it's going to be 1:30 in the afternoon on a Saturday. All right, I already said that. The LA Chargers take on the Houston Texans. Chargers are 3-point favorites, over under 42.5.
I just don't think this is the season for the Texans. They strike me as a team that's going to be one and done this postseason. I think the Chargers can move on with Jim Harbaugh. Lay the points with the Chargers, but I will take the over.
Over?
Yeah.
Steven's taking the over. I'm with Steven as well. I think that the Chargers are built better for the postseason with their running game. They actually picked up Ezekiel Elliott too on their practice squad. He'll probably get called up to the 53-man roster. I think that Chargers are playing better football. They had the best scoring defense in all of football this year. And the Texans are just too banged up. Just not their year. They had a lot of talent coming into the season, but injuries to Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell. Defensively, they could probably get to Justin Herbert a little bit, but I would say at the end of the day, the Chargers score more points, and they get the victory. I'm going with the Chargers, lay the points, and I'll go under on the 42.5. Then we got the Pittsburgh Steelers going to Baltimore. Steelers are reeling right now. 4 straight losses. They go to Baltimore. And they split the series season this year, 1-1. But Zay Flowers is not going to play on this game. Unfortunate that he got hurt in kind of a meaningless game against the Cleveland Browns. It wasn't meaningless where they could, entirely meaningless. They wrapped up the AFC North, but just a bad game to get injured in. Nevertheless, the Baltimore Ravens are 9.5-point favorites, over under 43.5.
Well, I'll take the Steelers to cover. I'll have the Ravens winning it, but I'll also go under. There was this clip from Arthur Smith too.
Yeah,
sounded like it's insane. It sounds like he wanted Justin Fields to play instead of Russell Wilson.
It sounds like they're going to use him a lot.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if there's some Wildcat shit with Justin Fields, and if Russell Wilson isn't working out in this game, they may go to Justin Fields.
Yeah.
The Zay Flowers injury has got me a little concerned about the Ravens' offense going forward.
For sure.
With him not being there, they may have to run the ball a lot more. And Rashad Bateman's a good wide receiver, but he can also drop the ball at times. They still got Nelson Aguilar, Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. So I think it's going to be more of a ground and pound game. I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers defense gets to Lamar Jackson a little bit in this game. I could see an upset here, but I am going to take it safe and go with the Baltimore Ravens. But I am going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers to cover and give me the under as well.
Mm.
Then we got the Denver Broncos going to the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are 8-point favorites, over under 47.5.
I'm going to take the Bills to win. I'll take the Broncos to cover, and I will go under.
You are going to take the
over.
Broncos
Excuse me, over. Yes, taking the Broncos to cover, taking the Bills to win, taking the over.
Taking the over. I think that Bo Nix has been really, really solid this year. Probably going to be finish second in Offensive Rookie of the Year voting. Sean Payton can scheme it up pretty well for this team. I think that, a year ago, I want to say the Broncos beat the Bills in Buffalo. This is a different team. I think the Bills, they'll be home. I think that Von Miller really wants to get to Bo Nix and have it come full circle in his career of getting a second against his former team. So, and the Bills are always just comfortable at home when they have these 1 o'clock games on a Sunday when they're the 2 seed. They've won every game where this is the situation. I'm taking the Bills. I'll lay the points, and I'll go under on the 47.5. I think it's going to be a little where the Buffalo Bills defense gets to Bo Nix and rattles him a little bit.
Trust me, I'm paying attention. We got this. We got a barn burner here with Notre Dame and Penn State.
17-17 in the fourth quarter. Okay, we'll wrap up here so we can all watch
Notre
this.
Dame had a crazy run into the end zone.
Whew. All right, then we got the Green Bay Packers at the Philadelphia Eagles. Both quarterbacks will full participants in practice. Jalen Hurts and Jordan Love. No Christian Watson. He's out for the year, maybe out for next season as well. The Eagles are 4.5-point favorites, over under 45.5.
Laying the points with the Eagles, I'll take the under.
I think it's just too much for the Green Bay Packers. Philly's at home, well rested. A.J. Brown did not practice today. But I think that's kind of a precautionary thing with his knee. So, I'm laying the points with the Eagles, and I'm going to go over on that 45.5.
Oh!
Am I behind? Oh, Drew Eller throwing it. Ooh, picked off by Notre Dame here.
Oh, but it's a flag!
Ooh.
Man, Drew Aller's cheeks, dude. They're too rosy. He's so,
Yeah, he's got rosy cheeks, I'll tell you that. Yeah, we'll see what the flag is here, and we'll this game.
Oh, man.
Getting spicy.
I'll let you know.
Hopefully it's this tight tomorrow with Ohio State and Texas. Hopefully. Then we got the Sunday night game. It is Washington at Tampa Bay. 3-point favorites.
Interference.
Ooh.
They called DPI.
So Buccaneers, 3-point favorites, over under 50.5.
Oh, man. Yeah. By the way, Tony's doing a playoff pool if you want to join it, where you pick games.
He sent me an email. I meant to respond to that.
Yeah, this is one of the ones that I really struggled with, but I'm going to do it. I like the Bucks. I got the Commanders pulling off the upset.
Ooh.
I got it. I think Bucky Irving is going to do Bucky Irving is going to do something for the Bucks. I think Baker Mayfield. I don't know. I can see him falling at night. Yes. I know. Go with the Commanders. Give me the Commanders. I'll take the over.
Alrighty. I'm taking the Bucks to win this game. I think it's just too much for a rookie in his playoff debut. And they played week 1 this year, and Baker Mayfield, I think, threw 4 touchdowns against the Commanders. So I'm taking Tampa Bay to win. I'll lay the points, and I'll go under on the 50.5.
How about that?
And then this game has been moved to Arizona between the Minnesota Vikings and the LA Rams. Minnesota's 2.5-point favorites, over under 47.5.
I just don't think it's the Rams' time. And I also think Sam Darnold, as much as obviously the Rams play in Los Angeles, but obviously Sam Darnold grew up in Orange County, went to USC. I think he's going to be playing for Los Angeles as well, like the Rams are, but both teams are really, just because, I don't know. You don't want to say this guy's going to play more for Los Angeles than the other.
Yeah.
Not with something going on like that, but I think Sam Darnold's going to be very motivated in his first playoff game here. So I'm going to lay the points with Minnesota, and I'm also going to take the over. I can see it being the actually, you know what? No, I'll take it. I'll take the under. I'll take the under. I can see the Vikings actually stumping the Rams.
Yeah, I think that unfortunately moving this game is going to help the Minnesota Vikings. Not that the Rams have a huge contingent of fans, but to move this game, it's a little tough for the Rams.
Yeah.
And these two teams played each other earlier in the season on a Thursday night, and the Rams came away with, I think, a 10-point victory. But this time around, I think they're pissed off from what happened a week ago against the Detroit Lions. They could scheme it up. Kevin O'Connell knows Sean McVay as much as Sean McVay knows Kevin O'Connell. And I think the Minnesota Vikings are just a better team. And I kind of want to see them play the Detroit Lions again. So I'm going with the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to lay the points, and I'm going to go under on the 47.5. The Rams' defense has been playing well. Their offense hasn't scored a shit ton of points lately. So there you go.
That's a profound way to put it.
What?
You're gonna hear that on the ESPN pregame. Well, I don't know. The Rams haven't scored a shit ton of points lately. I don't know.
They haven't. They haven't. I could say that here.
Yeah. Well.
All right. That's it. That's your wild card picks.
How about it,
Steven? Got anything else?
Actually, you know what? We have a little bit of time. Did you see Marcus Freeman's reaction to the media announcing what during the press conference, the guy over the loudspeaker announcing to the media what they got later in the schedule? Did you see any of that?
No.
This is more for the viewer. If you're watching this is more visual. But Marcus Freeman was not having any of it in the pre-conference football or college football playoff semifinal presser.
A post-game breakfast buffet will be available here at the hotel until approximately midnight. And lastly, all credentialed leaders are encouraged to join us tonight for the annual Capital One Orange Bowl Casino Media Night in Fort Lauderdale Beach from 6 until 9 p.m.
That's not bad.
I need to take a moment to appreciate the camera panning over.
Casino Media Night.
Marcus Freeman's a name that's has been thrown out there for NFL head coaching jobs.
Yeah, they're saying
he hasn't interviewed, obviously, but
yeah, they're saying don't look past this college football playoff. Like these guys could interview after they're done here.
We shall see. We'll see about the Raiders. We'll see about the 49ers and what they do with their coaching searches, and we'll have a good time watching football tonight for this fourth quarter between Notre Dame and Penn State. Still tied up, Steven?
Yes. No, actually, Penn State scored the go-ahead touchdown.
So they're up 24-17.
Yep.
We'll watch the rest of that game. Tomorrow it's Ohio State and Texas. Don't have a lot of faith in that one. And then we got the wild card games, and we'll be back on Tuesday, my friend. We'll be back Tuesday and Thursday next week. What are you squinting about?
You seeing what's going on in the chat?
What?
Looks like Ernie 2 is explaining how to do an enye over the N whenever you're typing a word.
Try this.
Where the fuck? Where's N? The key? Keyboard shortcut Option N, release, then press N.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on here.
So
all right, guys. We'll see you on Tuesday. For everybody in the chat tonight, Tacky, the Skills Report, Rock a New Era, Ernie 1, Pigs 76. Welcome to the chat, my friend. Cow Ka. One person. Brady cannot call Raider games. All right. And that's it. All right, guys. We'll see you on Tuesday. Steven, say what you always say.
It is just our opinion.